Good morning, everybody. It's a Friday morning, 6:30 in the morning. We're pouring a 48 by 32 concrete slab. The homeowner set up all the forms. He did all the prep work here, even the gravel work. Take a look at it. It looks pretty nice, actually. So the code here is 18-inch deep edges, and they can be about a foot, foot and a half wide. Taper up into the slab. Slab's about 4.5 inches. Getting going here. Let's go.
Hey guys, this is Mike Day. My channel is all about concrete flat work, and I'm really the only guy on the internet that's teaching you about how to do concrete flat work. So if you want to learn how to do a concrete slab like this, how to set up the forms, how to get it prepped, how to pour and finish the concrete, then you can join the Concrete Underground, which is my private training, or you could just get my concrete slab course. All the steps are in there, step by step. I teach you how to do all that stuff. Now today the homeowner set up his own forms. He is kind of a site contractor. He's done some of this stuff before. He did a really good job. It's a ton of work to set up a slab with 18-inch thick edges like this, especially when you're stacking forms on top of each other. Like he started with a 2x6 and then he put a 2x12 on top. Gets them all screwed together, gets them squared, stakes them in place, gets them braced, backfills, make sure everything's right, set to grade, nice and flush using a laser. It is quite a bit of work, but it's also the type of work that when you're doing a house foundation like this, that can save you some money if you can learn how to do that stuff yourself. Now for concrete guys like ourselves, we like things done a certain way, especially if we're going to be the ones pouring the concrete inside them. We definitely don't want those forms to move as we're pouring the concrete. So, we came over, we talked with him a little bit, we chatted, and we gave him some ideas about how we like to do things and why we like to do them that way. And then he kind of followed the request that we gave him, and he did a good job getting this ready to go for us today. So there wasn't really anything on the prep side that we had to do. We just showed up today. He's hired us to show up, pour it, finish it. Obviously we got the concrete lined up, we got the pump here, but it's a ton of work all in all, but it is real satisfying if there's part of this that you can do yourself. Now when we pour a slab like this is a pretty good house slab. We got a certain way that we like to pour the concrete to get it poured out. And it's not just to make it easier for pouring. We also have finishing in mind. Like, how are we going to power trowel this? Which way is the sun coming up? Where's the sun going to hit first? There's a bunch of other factors that go into play when you're a concrete person, not just simply just dumping out the concrete, getting it screeded and bowl floated. Like, we think of things like that in advance to help make the overall job a little bit easier. So this is the first house of what could be many in here. This guy owns quite a bit of land here, and this sets back up off the road a little bit, and then it keeps going up and back there, kind of where you can see my blue pickup way back there on the right. There's a little woods road that goes back up in there, and he's thinking of building a bunch more of these up in there at a later date. Here's one of the reasons we like the forms set right to grade. So as we're pouring, we can use the top of the form to go by. Number one, it helps us get the concrete kind of raked out initially when it comes out of the pump hose like that. And then I'm magging what I call mag floating smooth the edges, and that's going to give us something when you see us grab onto the screed. It'll give us something to go by when we start to level the floor out. Now we also got a laser set up. The thing in my left hand is I got the grade stick with the receiver on it, and the bottom of that grade stick is set right to the top of concrete, what we call top of concrete floor grade. So I can check spots in the middle where them guys are standing after they get the concrete dumped out. And the receiver reads the laser beam, and it tells me, if the concrete's high, if it's low, or if it's right where we need it. That's one of the reasons we do this way. And we don't want to be pounding stakes in at grade in there in the middle with it. Someone might kick one, or and you're poking holes down through the styrofoam and down through the vapor barrier. The mix we use for floors here in Maine, and this is an interior floor. It's going to all be heated. If you're wondering why the edges, they don't go down below the frost line, it's because the slab's going to be heated. Frost will never get under the slab if it's heated. So the ground, even the ground outside the slab generally stays, or under the slab stays, 40, 45 degrees. So there's never an issue with frost in a heated slab like this. He may, I didn't talk to him about this, but a lot of guys that do these radiant slabs, once they strip the forms off, they'll put styrofoam down the outside edge to help contain the heat in the slab and not have really any heat loss out through the edges. That's probably what he's planning on doing. And a lot of guys, when the forms are up, they'll even tack the 2-inch styrofoam to the inside of the form. So we'll pour the concrete right up against the styrofoam. And then when we strip the forms off, the styrofoam's already there. But either way, putting it on the outside edge one way or the other, it's kind of important to keep the heat in the concrete. Now what I'm doing over there in that back kind of left-hand corner of the slab, that's an exterior, like an exterior patio. There's going to be a post put on there, and the roof line will still carry out over it. But we're sloping that corner a little bit, so if there does ever get any rain up underneath the roof, at least it's going to hit the slab and work its way out instead of back underneath the sill of the house. So we're dropping that corner about 1 inch, and then we'll, screed it accordingly. We're also going to put a little bit of a broom finish on that section. It's about 8 feet by 16 feet. And then the rest of the slab is all interior house. So with the 2 inches of styrofoam and all the gravel he's got in here, again, even though that little section won't be heated, there should never be an issue with frost getting up under there. At least in my experience, all the stuff we've done over the past with this much gravel. And then it's really important later on, after the landscaping's done, that the landscaping does slope away from the house. So any water, rain that drips off the roof, whether you've got gutters or not, kind of runs away from the slab, not back down towards it and gets up underneath it. So here's how we screed this thing today. Is we're just using the magnesium screed. That's a 14-footer, and we're going to screed this by hand. We could pull out the vibrating screed. We've got battery operated vibrating screeds. If you watch any of my other videos, we use that a lot too. We just decided, hey, this has got some pipes in it. It's got some slopes in it. Let's just bust it all out by hand today. It's no big deal. And that's the way we're going to do it today. So that's the first truck you see dumped out. I think we got 4 9-yarders here, if I remember right. So about 36 yards. So we'll get the second one dumped right out. And again, we're keeping in mind how we're going to power trowel it as we're dumping out the concrete, right? So we're trying to keep, we'll dump it out. Like you can see Darren going back and forth there, and like 4 to 5 feet at a time, the length of the slab, and then you'll turn around, go the other way. So we're trying to keep kind of like a straight edge as he dumps it out, instead of just randomly going all over the place. That way we know, okay, the first truck went this far, second truck went this far, third truck, and so on. And when we go to power trowel it, it kind of finishes a little bit that same way. In most cases it does. You can see I'm over there now, bull floating on that part that's sloped. And you can't even really tell it's sloped in the video, but you can kind of see we're down inside the form a little bit if you look real hard. Now we're pouring, the mix is a 3500 PSI mix. It's got fiber mesh in it. Even though the slab has wire mesh, that's what the radiant tubing's tied to wire, sitting down on the styrofoam. In general, most of the heating guys that we talk to, they don't want us to lift that up into the slab. They like it at the bottom of the slab. So that's why we're leaving it there and we're not pulling it up in the slab. But we do have rebar reinforcement. There's 2 rows around the outside edge. There's fiber mesh in the middle. So this thing, it's compacted really well. The slab itself isn't going to go anywhere. well, 3,500 psi with fiber mesh, and we're using the water reducer in the mix like we normally do. If you don't know what water reducer is, I talk about it on just about all my pours. It allows us to pour a little bit looser slump when they add that right at the concrete plant without adding water, so gives us a really good strong concrete, being able to pour it at a loose slump, not having to kill ourselves. Down and back with the bull float, making it nice and smooth, keeping it even, going at a nice slow pace. That's how you bull float. So that's a good slump. I'd say that's between us. If we had to slump test that, probably going to slump out between a 6 and a 7. If you know anything about slumps at all. If you don't, there's all kinds of videos on Google or YouTube about slump, how to test concrete. I would just look that up. But just know a 1 for a slump would be really, really dry. Like that's like dirt dry. A 10 for a slump is kind of like real watery, real runny. So we like something that's loose, that's workable, but not like super runny, super watery. Just something that's easy to work with. That doesn't, obviously we don't want to hurt the strength of the concrete. If you get it too watery, then you're just gonna run into strength issues. You'll run into shrinkage, crack issues. Our plan today is we'll get this down hopefully before the sun comes up over the trees. We like working in the shade a lot better. And then, you know, it's going to dry like wildfire once that sun comes up. We'll get it power troweled really smooth. And then we'll get our saw cuts in today too. We saw cut everything. And I go over all these steps again in the Concrete Underground if you want to learn how to do this stuff. But for us, basic, simple stuff, because this is what we do for a living. We do it every single day. The 4 of us, that's Darren. Darren's holding the pump hose. That's me over there walking around kind of with a grade stick. And then Eric and Luke are kind of raking the concrete out. Between the 4 of us, the experience we have is about 140 years experience between the 4 of us. So not going to find 4 guys. You're not going to find 4 guys most in many other places with that much concrete experience. So right now I'm making that pad in the middle. That's about the end of the house. And then from there to the right, kind of where they're starting to pour the concrete, is garage. So the garage connects right to the house. And then we're going to slope right about where Darren is right now with the hose. We're going to slope that part out towards the pump truck. So the garage floor kind of slopes towards the front door of the garage door. Another reason why we didn't use the Vibra Screed there. You see how simple that is. Just making pads, giving you something to go by as you screed the concrete. I don't know how else you do that and really get a floor nice and flat. Other than, you know, you could put grade stakes in. You can put screed rails in if you want, if that's how you feel more comfortable doing it. For us, this is the simplest form of screeding that we know of. In addition to doing it by hand like this, using maybe, you know, our battery power screed. But shooting the pads, striking off the pads like they're doing right now, giving you something really good and wide to go by. I don't know how you can get it more level than that, because we're shooting it with a laser. So whatever tolerance that laser has, we found that it's usually about 1/8 of an inch tolerance, maybe a little bit less if you're really fussy with it, but about 1/8 of an inch tolerance between the laser and the human factor. There's always a human factor involved in any tolerance when you're shooting grades. So from one end of that screed to the other, it could be exactly the same, or it could be, you know, within 1/8 of an inch is what we generally find. Right now we're waiting for that 4th truck to show up. Luckily we're not too far from the concrete plant. Sometimes with these slabs like this that have those big tapered edges, if you're really close to the concrete plant, you know it's going to take 4 loads. Like, we'll dump out the first 3 loads. We'll try to get them dumped out in fast, and then we can figure the balance. So if you know, you measure this all out, you shoot your laser thicknesses and all that, and you figure this thing figures right around 36 yards. But it could take 34, it could take 38. You know, you don't know with those edges tapered the way they're at. Sometimes it's just easier to just dump out 3 trucks, and knowing that when you call, it's going to take about 10 or 15 minutes for him to load it, and them to wash down, and then to drive here just to get those 3 trucks dumped out, and then figure the balance so you don't waste too much concrete and you don't run out. The worst thing would be having those 4 trucks show up based on what you figured and then still run out and have to call, have them load a truck and send another yard out here. All right, so we got our last truck showed up. You can see that slump a little bit, maybe a little drier than the other 3, but that's okay. We don't have much to go here. Got about a 12-foot section by the length of the house, the width of the house. Gives you a real good idea just how that concrete works. This mix is pretty good. It has quite a bit of paste to it. It's not too sticky, so it smooths out pretty good under the mag. It smooths out really good under the bull float, especially if there's no wind. And there we are. We're getting about, this is what we normally do. We'll normally dump out just about the whole thing, leave a little bit low at the end, so if we are high up in here, we can pull it down into that low. We don't have to shovel it out and make a mess. Another thing that makes it nice, at least with our crew, is everybody can do everything. No one cares what they do. Like, no one cares if they're raking the concrete. No one cares if they're screeding the concrete. No one really cares if they bull float. Our only concern is getting this down, making it right, and getting it down as fast as we can, so we can have some time off between getting it bull floated and then having to come back and power trowel it. Now the sun, you can see the sun's coming up over the trees. It's already hitting that back corner. There's a pretty good chance that that back corner where we haven't done yet will be the first corner we actually put the power trowel on, because of all the shade on the rest of it. That back corner is going to start setting up first, even though this is the 4th truck, probably an hour, at least probably about an hour behind loading this truck versus loading the very first truck. I'm willing to bet that corner is going to set up first. All right, so here's the garage section. So now this is sloping down towards the pump truck. So let me know what you guys think. Give me your comments on if you want to build a house or live in a house on a slab like this. You know, no stairs to walk up or down. You got a garage connected in here. I mean, you could pour this a little bigger if you wanted to have a 2-car garage versus a 1-car garage. If you like the thought of having radiant heat in your slabs to heat the house, they may even put a heat pump in here for you know, additional or backup heat plus air conditioning. A lot of people are doing that nowadays. But this is how we pour concrete, especially when we do house slabs. And again, remember, the concrete underground, I have all kinds of trainings in there, from pouring slabs like this to pouring just regular 4-inch thick concrete floors inside a foundation, to there's stamped concrete in there, there's epoxy coatings in there, there's all kinds of stuff that has to do with concrete. The same kind of stuff we do, you'll be able to learn in there if you want. Send me a question in the comments. If you've got any questions about that, I can send you the link directly. But the link is down below in the description if you do want to check it out. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll let you watch the rest of this here. I'm going to explain a little bit about what we're doing here in just a second.
for a look at those?
I was just gonna set up some foam there.
Oh, foam. I'd wait a minute before I'd put them in that pot. Yeah.
Wait until it's kind of
Yeah. Or should he put them in while we got the board there? Yeah, maybe it would be better while the board's there. Yeah, and then we can just play with them a little bit and get them smooth.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do this detail very often for people?
Not a lot. Not a lot of people do slabs with a sloped garage in them. Most of them are all flat.
Yeah, or a second floor.
Yeah. Yeah, or a second. Yeah. All right, guys, that'll do it for the pour. Everything's going good. We're just shaping that wall. That section right there is a garage out up into there 20 feet, so it slopes about an inch this way. And we're just trying to make the part where his wall is going to sit flat, so when he studs his wall up, it'll sit on a flat section. Going good. 48 by 32, first slab in here. He's got multiple houses going up in here. I don't know how many acres he's got, but he's going to be building a lot of houses up in here. This is the very start of it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.